Yeah, we back. Good morning, or good day, or night, everybody. Welcome back. This is a Beyond Click and Clip. It is a podcast of me telling you life experiences, stories, how I'm feeling. Hopefully, I can make you laugh, smile, crack a smile, or do something to make your day a little bit better. I, I want to. You can have this on as you're doing yard work, cleaning house, working, doing whatever you do. You need a voice in the background. I'm your man. Today, last week we kind of talked about a horrible thing that happened hiking. If you haven't checked it out, go check it out. It'll be at the end of the video on one of these screens you can push on. Click on it. You can watch that. But today, I am wanting to talk about, a tornado. Now, guys, when I was on the fire department for 20 years, and I lived outside of Joplin, Missouri, Springfield, Missouri, in between them, in a small town called Aurora. I don't live there now. I used to, and I used to be on the fire department there for 20 years. And never really experienced a tornado. I mean, we've had storms, growing up, but never really encountered a bad one, in my opinion, until this day. I want to say it was in '03, May. It was May 3rd. I know that date is in my brain from now on. But on the fire department, we used to go out storm spotting. That was one of our duties. We get in the fire trucks and go to fixed locations where we could see a lot of area in the sky without any objects, so we can kind of keep an eye on the clouds and try to keep our area safe, and where we could reach out to them and make sure that they're safe and they're not going to be in any harm's way. So this night was weird. I was working that day, and I went by the house. I went by my house, done a few things, and then we got called out to the station to storm spot. That's what they're called. So I'm using my way out there, and we went to the station. Me and my partner and friend at the time got in the fire truck, and we went to our designated spot. And parked the fire truck there and started looking in the sky, rain and stuff. And next thing I know, the storm. Here comes the storm. Everything got dark real quick, and you can feel it. Feeling. There's some kind of feeling that you can feel in the air or in the atmosphere that made you. Just something strange was happening. We looked across the field that we were looking at, and we saw the tornado. And next thing you know, we see a bunch of debris falling in front of us. So of course, we radioed in and said, hey, we have debris, we have rotation, we see a tornado. And we think it's touchdown because there's debris falling in front of our truck. And what's coincidence, I lived on that road. Just where the fire station was, I lived about maybe 3 miles away from the station, out in the county. And I didn't think anything of it. Really, I didn't. I thought, I'm kind of terrible on judging distance. And it looked like that's not even near my house. Well, of course, we sat there. We radioed it in. We kept an eye on it. We watched it go through. Well, we need to go assess the damage. See if there's any emergencies. Anybody trapped in their houses or whatever. the case may be. We start up the fire truck, start headed down that way. Then we start seeing a lot of damage. And I looked at the highway it was on, and I'm like, oh dear. My wife, I had a newborn child at that time. I think she was a year old. And I'm like, oh no. Thankfully, they weren't home. They were at my mom and dad's that night. And they lived in town, and this storm didn't hit town. But the highway we lived on, it was just right down that highway. And I'm like, oh no. So I told my partner, I said, any chances this hit my house? And he looked at me and he said, well, we're going to go look. But the thing is, we couldn't go down that highway. There was power lines down, middle of the highway, so much destruction. And I want to tell you all something. This was just, at the end of the day, it was an F2, okay? It wasn't, it was a tornado, but it wasn't a F5 or anything like that. It was just, it was a small one. But a lot of damage, man, a lot of damage. This hit a town before us, and it did, there was some fatalities there, and it was horrible. In our area, I think we only had one fatality, but this tornado hit, and I forgot what they said, like the search road, whatever it hit was a mile, but it came from town below, so it was like almost like a 10-mile stretch on the ground. So imagine that pathway was 10 miles long, okay? It was pretty big destruction, and so me and my partner, we couldn't drive down the road. We couldn't drive the fire trucks down the road. There was hot lines on the ground. We had to call electric company, make sure there was no power in that area, and they shut the power down. Whatever they do, what they do, they gave us the all clear, and we started going house to house, and doing a primary, I can't even pronounce it. Anyway, a search to make sure nobody was injured or hurt or trapped or anything like that. And we got pretty lucky on that aspect of it because there wasn't that much damage. Thank goodness. But I started going house to house and told, when we finally got to my house. And I wasn't too pleased with what I saw. I mean, I'll break the story there. This was in May, and we had a last snow in, March. We had our last snow, and I lived alongside the highway. I had a shop there in a barn, a little metal shop. Well, just that previous winter, a person who hit some ice and spun out and ran through my shop. Literally ran through my shop. Just got done spending, I don't know, like $9,000 on getting that shop rebuilt. And when I got to the house, that was just a concrete slab. It was like literally $9,000 to the wind, for real. The storm picked up my house, turned it, slammed it back down on the foundation. My barn, it was a concrete barn. It was tumbled in on itself. It was a total mess, and I think, thank God that my family wasn't there. They were at my mom and dad's, because the house was falling in on itself and all that stuff. So I'm very thankful that they were at my mom and dad's and not in the house. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, I know my family's safe. I saw the damage. There's nothing I can do about it. So let's see who else we can help. So that initial night we were up 24 hours. We got everything accessed, and there was, I think we had one fatality in in our area. Uh, Very little injury, so people were taking cover and doing what they were supposed to do, or weren't home. Um, the next day, all the big boys came down to play. I think FEMA was there at the time. All the insurance people and people who was dropping off donations. And that was really, people are so kind-hearted. They want to help, and it was some help. But I remember I was out there every day handing out supplies, water, wherever the people came in. I loaded up the truck and I went out there and drove around. People were outside their houses, and I'll stop and give them a case of water, whatever whatever I had, food. Um, I remember Anheuser-Busch canned up a lot of water in cans, and we took them and handed them out. People thought we were handing out beer. No, they just canned a lot of water for us, so we did that. The fun, no, it's not really funny, but there was a lot of toilet paper given to us to hand out. And I walked to one of my, I lived across the street from one of my childhood buddies' parents, and walked up there and I handed them a package of toilet paper, and there was nothing there. And they go, what bathroom do you expect me to use? And I said, I don't know, dude. If you have to find a tree, at least you got toilet paper. I don't know. But it was people were so generous. Every day people dropping off stuff. And our fire station became the hub where to drop the stuff off. And they did. We actually had to pull a truck out, leave it outside because the bay was completely full of stuff. Food, canned food, like Venus sausages that you can eat out of a can, crackers, peanut butter, cracker sandwiches, whatever, and cleaning supplies, tubs, everything. People were just dropping off, and we'd load it up and keep taking it out there. And I don't know if they ever got rid of all that stuff, but it helped. But man, I tell you what, that was so scary though, being in that tornado. It was very surreal. And a few years later, the one Joplin hit that's on Netflix. They have a documentary of it on Netflix, and I'm telling you, I was part of that. We went and helped out in that. And I really hate tornadoes. I live in a tornado alley, and we just had a storm last night that had a tornado in it and damaged just a few towns. But I'm like, my anxiety level gets up now. It did mess with me. I do get a little skittish around storms now. I don't like them. I told my wife last night, I said, we ought to move to Alaska or somewhere where we don't have to deal with tornadoes or anything. And, well, no, you just freeze to death up there. I said, I could probably find a place to stay warm than I can hide from a tornado. But I don't know. My suggestion to you guys is make sure you guys heed the warning when they say tornado warning and take cover. Take cover. Don't go outside looking at it or trying to see what see it. Be safe. Go hide it. Go to your safe spot. And it's no fun. I'm telling you, it's not fun. And that's just my advice. I don't know what to tell, but that's my advice to you guys. But aftermath of it, it took us a while to clean up. I dug a big old hole in my front yard and buried my old house in it. It was weird. I burnt my house. I went in there after we got everything that we could salvage out of there, and I burnt it. And I just lit it on fire, and what was left, I dug a hole in front of it and bulldozed in the hole and covered it up. Same with my barn, what was left of my shop. I had a brand new bass boat in that shop too, brand new, and that was wrapped around a tree. It was horrible times. But we got, finally we put a house out there afterwards, and after that there was no trees because all the trees were blue. But I mean, it was a pretty property. It had trees along the driveway. It was pretty, especially in spring and fall. But those trees weren't there no more. After that, me and the wife wasn't happy out there because it was just like we were, it was just in the middle of a field, and there was nothing pretty about the place anymore. So we ended up selling it and moving out of that house, and and started a life somewhere else. And a lot of people did that. But a lot of people just sold out and went elsewhere. And I think even as of today, you can drive down that road and still see the damage that it's caused. You can still see the path, and it's just a horrible mess. So yeah, that was my experience with the tornado, and I don't like it. Guys, I think we'll leave this one with you today. If you enjoyed it, please hit the like button down below. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. If you ain't subscribed, maybe consider subscribing. Guys, be somebody's light, somebody's darkest cloud. Somebody could be having a bad day. A hello from you could bring their day brighter. Make them happy. Open the door for somebody. Tell somebody they look nice today. Do whatever it takes. Guys, until the next one, bye-bye.